Another inspiration that is cited is the Shadow. Are you familiar with the Shadow?
I think I have heard references to it, maybe in the Batman and Bill or whatever.
They might have done it in passing. There actually is, speaking of like 90s action flicks, there is an Alec Baldwin Shadow movie from 1994 that
No
is not
way.
great. Yeah, that's about this character. The origin of the Shadow is kind of convoluted. It involves a pulp magazine called Detective Story Magazine, which ran from 1915 to 1949. Detective Story was published by a company called Street and Smith, and the Shadow actually didn't appear in that magazine, but the Street and Smith, in order to promote the magazine, decided that they wanted to have a radio show. In 1930, they hired an advertising agency to make a radio show that would adapt stories from the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
That show started on July 31st, 1930, and was called the Detective Story Hour. And for the show, they decided that they needed a narrator, and they decided that the narrator of the show should be a character called the Shadow. And at first, there wasn't a whole lot to the Shadow. He was mysterious, didn't have a backstory on purpose. He was just kind of a creepy voice. He had a cackle. His tagline was, "Who knows what evil lurks in the heart of man? The Shadow knows."
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
You should definitely put this in.
The Shadow
I will.
knows.
It's ridiculous. Oh, it's so. What year is this?
1930.
Oh man, such a product of a time. I mean, it sounds like it's from the 30s. It's like almost like Vincent Price type, like yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also strong shades of Scooby Doo.
But like a Scooby-Doo villain, right? Like not
definitely the villain.
someone
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you would, not someone that you would think of as a hero.
Oh yeah, that I didn't think about that. Yeah, the Shadow sounds like a villain, but I guess it's like if Freddy Krueger was a good guy.
Yeah, a little bit, and that's kind of
Wow,
Shadow's
that's fun.
shtick. We'll talk about it more here in a second. Detective Radio Hour was canceled after only 54 episodes, which was not a lot of that for the time.
Yeah, only 54. I hope we get to 54 on this show.
Yeah, we're literally in episode 4.
Yeah.
But the character proved to be really popular. So soon, he would get his own pulp magazine simply called The Shadow. So remember, the pulps are literary fiction, basically novellas. They're not comic books. And this is where the character of The Shadow is fleshed out. Eventually, he does get back onto the radio. He's on the radio by 1936. Interestingly, at the time in 1936, when he came back, The Shadow would be voiced by a 22-year-old Orson Welles.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is really cool.
That is cool.
If you're not familiar, Orson Welles is the one that did the famous like War of the Worlds broadcast, amongst other things. Kind of a famous actor from the time.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's pretty famous, but like his most famous role, which is considered like the greatest movie of all time, is Citizen Kane, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Is the same dude. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And so the Shadow has a whole magazine dedicated to him. He has radio shows that are dedicated to him. The Shadow wears a long black flowing cloak. It's almost kind of like a trench coat and a wide brim black hat. And he has a scarlet red scarf that's wrapped around his neck and lower face, so just beneath the nose, but covering his mouth. He's often depicted with 2 Colt 45 handguns, but sometimes also has a Tommy gun, and in some cases has 2 Tommy guns. In the early pulps, he hunts down and sometimes kills criminals, using various tricks to scare the criminals and convince them that he has supernatural powers. So like kind of like sleights of hand and magic, he uses chemicals to scare them.
It also kind of sounds like the Punisher a little bit, because he actually kills
a little
kills the
bit.
bad.
Yeah. But in the radio show, which was the more popular, version of him at this time,
Okay.
he does less killing. Like I listened to several episodes, he didn't actually kill anybody in any of the episodes, so I don't know if he actually killed people on the show or not.
Oh, okay.
And in that version, he actually kind of does have mystical powers. Like it's not just like he's trying to trick people. He travels the world, learning from different martial artists and spiritual leaders and mystics,
Oh, wow.
which is a thing that
Batman.
Batman does.
Yeah.
To, sort of gain skills to, fight crime. And in the radio show as well that I listen to, he does that thing where he appears and disappears without people noticing that he's
got
come
it.
and gone, which is the thing that
Oh,
Batman
I
does.
hate it when he does that. That's cool.
Another thing that he does is that he has different disguises and alter egos that he uses to go and do investigations and talk to people. So a big inspiration for Batman, because he's designed to strike fear into the hearts of criminals. He lurks in the shadows, travels the world to train himself, sudden comings and goings, many disguises.
Oh yeah, the comparison is also really strong here.
So yeah, at the time that Bob and Bill created Batman, the Shadow was basically only on the radio and in pulps. But later, the Shadow would go on to be successful in comic strips and comic books. It has been adapted into several movies, including the 1994 Alec Baldwin movie. Yeah, kind of a big character in his own right.